Hello, everybody, and welcome into Irish Hills, Michigan, making a stop tonight with the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. Thank you all so much for tuning in. You are watching Austin Green on Ghost Racing Network. Well, the playoffs continue to inch closer, and with that, more and more drivers starting to become desperate, if you will, to try to get a win and get themselves locked in. And we got a couple wild cards here to round out the regular season, and it all starts here tonight at Michigan International Speedway. So before we get any further into it, let's take a look at tonight's starting grid. Taking the pole for Team Marble iRacing, it's Tyler Marble, puts down a 38.3. His teammate Jeff Marble, both of those cars bringing really good sets as he'll roll off on the outside pole in second here tonight. Wes Hurd Jr. back in third. Remember, he did already get a win, but he's still trying to climb out of that points deficit to lock himself into the playoffs. Ty Iopolito, the rookie for Dynamic Autosports, will start in fourth. Jared Bundy back in fifth for SWM Motorsports, and then it's Roger Shelton to his outside in sixth. Moving on back to row number 4, it's Brandon Saylor, one of the rookies, alongside another one of the rookies for Riot Motorsports, and that is Michael Mueller in the 8th spot. Brian Conklin back in 9th, and Austin Fitzgerald, the winningest driver so far this season, he rounds out your top 10. Moving on back to row number 6, it's Quentin Clark and Cody Matthews. Row 7 is going to be Ryan Haynes and Johnny Mahalchuk. Tracy Powers back in 15th with Alan Pajari in 16th. Scott Glasso 17th with Jeff Shutt in 18th. Jeff Barnes in 19th. And Kyle Oakley rounding out your top 20. Andrew Russo will start 21st here tonight. Caleb Patton in 22nd. Thomas O'Hara 23rd with Christian Losgen back in the 24th spot. Moving on back to 25th, it's Danny Gutierrez. Kenneth Bartholomew, another one of the rookies in the field here tonight, will start 26th. Brett Spott in 27th with Jacob Musso in 28th. Glenn Grigsby 29th, and Jeffrey Souza rounding out your top 30. Jake Hickson starts in 31st. The Canadian driver in the field, Mark Zabak, will start to his outside in 32nd. Matthew Gearinger in 33rd with Christopher Hall in 34th, and he will round out your field here tonight. Taking a look at your race info, the breakdown here for the Michigan 200. Going to be 100 laps at 100% fuel, 4 sets of tires available, and that includes the one that you start with in this race. No fast repairs as always, open setups, and 3 green-white checkers if we were to need them. 71 degrees outside, 82% humidity, cloudy skies, and winds at 9 miles an hour might play a little bit of a factor around this 2-mile D-shaped oval. And I say 2 miles exact, but this thing's going to race similar to a super speedway probably at the start. And early on in these runs, the draft is going to play a big role, and track temp only at 95. That is not that hot, so grip may be improved from what drivers were expecting throughout the week. We'll have to see, but either way, it's going to be a good one, and we are ready to go. Again, thank you all so much for tuning in. Hope that you'll stick with us here tonight. Good to be back. Last week, Matt Medler had everybody covered. He did a great job. Certainly appreciate his services. And so here we go. Pace car will pull off. That puts the field in the hands of Tyler Marble alongside his teammate Jeff Marble. The Michigan 200 is underway. Green flag is in the air. Lap 1 complete, and it goes to the 48 of Tyler Marble. He will lead him back down for lap 2 here into turn number 1. Notice Wes Hurd Jr. was able to actually slot into that second spot, took it away from the 2 Team Marble iRacing teammates. That was Jeff Marble that he took the spot from. Ty Iopolito and multiple others still side by side. A lot of guys trying to see if they can get a pass going on this inside here in the early portions of the run. If you can't make it work, there's a good chance that things will start to kind of single file out to the top as we continue on through this race. But right now, yeah, I agree. Take advantage of what you got. Well, you've got the tires to burn, but got to be careful because we've seen tire management and how much of a role it played when the trucks were here just a few weeks back. Or excuse me, actually I meant to say when the trucks were at Chicagoland, we saw the role that played, that track being the most similar to Michigan. So we'll see how everybody kind of counteracts to that, if anybody took any notes from it. But You can already see the pack racing that we've had here in just the first few laps, and you would expect this to continue. I said things would single file out, and they very well may, but even if they do, man, that was Roger Shelton, did you see that move from the 42? He absolutely slammed the door, getting down to that inside line. That was Jared Haynes that he closed the door on. Excuse me, Jared Bundy, if you will. And oh my goodness, boy, that was about as close as it gets. And everybody's going to continue to be testies. Look at this, Taio Polito down the front stretch. He's got a run on Wes Hurd Jr. We'll see if he decides to make a move of it. Doesn't look like he will. He stays tucked in line for now. Wes Hurd Jr. still running behind the 48 of Tyler Marble. And he's going to look for a run up top here. He's got the momentum. Where will he go? Does he look to the top or does he push the 48? Looks like right now he is content to push the 42, though, of Roger Shelton. I don't know if he's got a setup that maybe nobody else really expected, or if he's working these tires a little bit more than he should be right now, because he is flying. Look at this. He is up 4 positions from where he started, and he's about to take the lead. Taio Polito is going to jump down to try to help that 42 car. Gives him a bump draft down the middle of the straightaway here. Is it enough to get that 42 clear here? If he can't slide up, he's going to lose a bunch of momentum and potentially some spots, but he will. Roger Shelton takes the point here at Michigan on lap 5. Tyler Marble moves back to second. And he's got to be careful here. Sometimes when you lose one spot, you can lose a couple more. As you notice now, Taio Polito is trying to get a little bit of a side draft on the 48 down the backstretch. Nothing doing there, but he'll stay to the inside through 3 and 4. Wes Hurd Jr. still up top. Jared Bundy, he now starts to make his way back into the mix. Michael Mueller's there as well. And Jeff Marble, arguably, I don't want to say the biggest loser because I think this is planned, but right now he's back to 8th. Remember, he started in 2nd. But I think the reason that this 15 car is back running in the 8th spot right now is because I think he's saving tire. He knows it's early. He knows what to expect at a track like Michigan, where it almost tempts you as a driver to just get up there and go for it each and every lap, carrying a lot of throttle time. You can get very racy. The grip's pretty good here. But at the same time, you do all that at the cost of tires. And if we stay green here for a while and we start to get into a bit of a longer run, and you don't have any tires saved, that's when you're really going to start to be feeling the pressure once everybody starts to go by. Here's Austin Fitzgerald in the 74. He's now looking to make a couple moves up here towards the front. He's lost a spot from where he started, but again, I think that's him just trying to be conservative as he pushes the rookie Brandon Saylor down the front stretch. Dives off into turn 1, and one thing you might also start to notice now is nobody's really necessarily hugging that yellow line. You can see some drivers are kind of creeping maybe just below that seam, if you will, but nobody's really able to get the left sides down to the yellow. It's not very grippy down there, and if you do get down there, you're going to scrub off quite a bit of tire. So that's kind of the line we'll see drivers take either in qualifying or maybe the first couple laps. But generally speaking, you don't see too many guys taking that line as you get into the race. I know Jared Bundy tried to yank it down there through 3 and 4 and was able to make it work, but overall looks like everybody else is trying to fight for really as many lanes as they can find above that first seam. Jeff Shutt looking 3 wide here, just below Kyle Oakley and Cody Matthews. And again, we still have, I mean, if you look at the gaps, you could throw, I would say, your front 7 under a blanket, and in general, this whole pack is within about 2 seconds spread of each other. Is a little bit of a cluster up right there. Down the backstretch caused a few checkups. The 14 of Jeff Barnes, good to see him back here tonight. He's currently down 2 positions from where he started this race at, sitting in 21st. Driver out of Mokina, not looking to necessarily make a playoff run this season, as he wasn't able to make it a full-time appearance, but still looking to see if he can round out the season on a positive note. Who knows, maybe go fight for a win here. Can't forget, next week we're going to head to Daytona International Speedway, so I wouldn't say you can necessarily take notes from this week, but that doesn't mean that there's going to be a driver who doesn't have a chance. I mean, the draft is the great equalizer, and everybody that's looking for a wild card win to make it into the playoffs has Daytona circled on their list. Probably half of those people probably also have Michigan circled on the list, and a couple more maybe looking to Darlington, the Southern 500 in real life, and that might be one of the crown jewel events here for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. But that's a more technical track, a little bit more controlled, if you will. So we'll see how things pan out with that. Wes Hurd Jr. got a big push right there from the Riot Motorsports rookie of Michael Mueller down the front stretch. That got that 99 right back up almost, or excuse me, got the 12 almost to the back bumper of the 42 again. And looks like Mueller actually fades a little bit off at turn number 2. And, you know, it's interesting because the general idea is, you know, you take the bottom of the racetracks the shortest way around, but then if you take the top, you get the momentum down the straightaway. So if 2 guys kind of line themselves up right, you can push back up to another pack. And in this case, if you're Michael Mueller, I think your job is to try to get a good run, push that 12 car down the straights. But just can't seem to do it right now. And saw just behind him, though, the teammates, they were. Brian Conklin and Tyler Marble, they got locked together there for a moment. Big speed boost. That gets that 48 right back up to the tire tracks of Michael Mueller as they got into turn number 1. Take a look at the dashboard speeds here tonight. Should be nearing, if not a little bit over, 200 down the front stretch. You see about 195, 97, in fact, getting into turn number 3. And if the wind's matching the real-life direction, then it should be kind of giving them a bit of a tailwind down the front stretch here. And that's why you see those speeds of upwards, in fact, maybe over 200 miles an hour, especially for some of the drivers that are running back in the draft here. Wesser Jr., you see he's pulling that draft off of Roger Shelton. Look at this. 196. Nope, not quite going to make it to 200 miles an hour, but nonetheless, the draft still playing a big role as we have got everybody inside your top 20, all still within, I would say, pretty fair reach of each other. I don't want to say arm's length. I mean, your top 5 certainly are, but this pack has certainly not disintegrated, at least not yet. We'll see how things change, but see Kyle Oakland in 17 body armor car. He continues to be one of those drivers that's kind of hovering towards the end of the playoff picture, and he knows that he's going to need good runs here to round out the season. And what would end all the questions would, of course, be a win to get yourself locked in. So we'll see what Kyle can do here in the next couple races. You know he's going to be solid next week at Daytona. So far tonight, he's doing a pretty good job. He's found himself up 7 positions from where he started this race at. In fact, Kyle Oakley is one of our drivers that's carrying an onboard for us here tonight. As we'll take a look. There is Kyle Oakley in the bottom right of your screen. Boy, he looks cool, calm, and collected right now. Running in the middle of this pack at almost 200 miles an hour, but he seems to be content taking the inside, and I think that's the place to kind of be if you're trying to save some tire for the longer run. You know, you get to that top lane, you're able to carry more throttle, and sometimes that can translate to more tire wear. But we do see Austin Fitzgerald up there right now, so maybe he's got something figured out as he still currently sits in that 11th position. The driver out of Las Vegas, Nevada, with a great run going so far, not just in this race, but in the season. I mean, you look at what he's done, the amount of wins, they just keep racking up, and I'll tell you what, you can just almost tell, right, with everybody else in the field, it gets to a point where everybody loves Austin, right? But it gets to a point where everybody kind of is like, you know what, let's see somebody else win. And that certainly seems to ramp up the competitive nature as we get on through the season, and with the hot streak that Fitzgerald's been on, you certainly could tell through the last couple weeks, there's been a couple drivers that have raced him maybe a little bit more aggressive than they would have, say, at the start of the season, and that's just drivers that are fighting really hard to try to end the streak that 74 is on, so that hopefully they can break some momentum for him before the playoffs. And meanwhile, he's trying to keep it going, and this is a streak he doesn't want to see end anytime soon. Just 15 of 100 laps complete so far here tonight. Fuel's certainly going to be a question as we get closer, but hold on, we got a pass for the lead setting up here. Ty Iopolito on Roger Shelton. He's going to take a look on the bottom here. Shelton's been really, really good since the start of this race. He fired off phenomenal, and he's been able to hold that lead since, but clean air is king here. And if you can hold on to it at a certain point, tire wear may not matter as much as you would think. And for Ty Iopolito, you saw what happened there off of 4. Either got a little bit tighter or a little bit loose. Either way, had to get out of the throttle, and boy, he lost a bunch of positions, and now he's trying to fight to hopefully not lose any more here as he stays alongside Michael Mueller down the backstretch. There's Quentin Clark in the 00. He's trying to work up here. Had a miss. I don't know if it was last week or the week before, but the 00. He's already got himself a couple wins on the season, looking for another one here tonight, and he is another driver who's been on the move since the start of this race, up 6 positions from where he started at. 17 laps now complete. And by the way, wanted to mention what the fuel window was looking like as that battle had been setting up for the lead. But in general, I think the idea here would be, you figure it's a 2-mile racetrack. We don't have too many other tracks to necessarily compare it to. But if I had to guess, you maybe look at a track like Daytona or Talladega where these cars would make maybe about 35 to 40 laps. Michigan, I would think that's closer to maybe 40, 45 laps. I know the real-life Cup cars could make it to 50. So we'll see how close that translates. Could be anywhere between 40 and 50. And if you could stretch it to 50, then that would obviously make this race a one-stop. If you can't, might have to consider 2. And then at that point, you start to wonder if there's any tire strategy that starts to come into play. Jeff Marble still not made up a bunch of ground since falling back early. He currently sits in 8th. Jeff, of course, one of the drivers who, I mean, he'll let you know qualifying is, I don't want to say it's a weak point, but it's something that he feels like he knows how to do, but always struggles to execute when it's time to do it. And He didn't struggle tonight, qualified second up there with his teammate, but kind of went the opposite direction here once the race started. And we are only about 20 laps in, so we still got a long ways to go in this run. Still a lot of things to change, but certainly can't say there's been a lack of opportunity for passing, not with the way that the draft and the pack has worked so far. As you saw 3 wide back there for just a moment. As Jake Hickson, he's up 18 positions from where he started this race at. That's the Dynamic Autosports rookie. Looking to see if he can get up there with a couple of his other teammates. Oh, man. Big moment right there for Scott Glasso. You saw him laying down some tire smoke as that car got really, really loose. He was lucky to hold on to that one. And I'll tell you what I think that is for Scott Glasso. I think that's just more or less the fact that these cars are going to get loose mainly off of turn 2. That's the place where it kind of gets a little bit dicey, if you will. The way you get off of 4 with this curved front stretch, you can kind of drive it up to the wall a little bit better. As you notice, Scott Glasso give a push right there to the 16. But when you come off of turn 2, that wall straightens out pretty quickly. And so watch Scott Glasso here from the rear chase. Notice the back of this car. See how it's sliding out? Look at his hands. He is making a lot of corrections back to the right with that car, trying to get it to straighten out. And it's working now, and he's got pretty good speed here as he gives a push that time to the 72 on Mahalchek. But as this goes on through a run, all that wheel movement translates to a lot of tire wear, and that car getting really, really loose as you get late in the run. So we'll keep an eye on that for Scott Glasso and really the rest of these drivers. When you see one guy have an issue, it's usually not too uncommon to see a couple more with the same problem. But so far, so good for everybody else. Jeff Marble and Austin Fitzgerald now side by side. Jeff has fallen a few more spots as he sits on the inside of his rookie teammate right here. Meanwhile, Shelton up front continues to lead, and I'll tell you what, I don't know if he's going to break a gap at this point, but he has been maintaining really, really well. About 0.3 of a second is the lead right now between him and Wes Hurd Jr. And you can see they're still getting a racing a little bit just behind him. That certainly helps him try to maintain this gap, but you know, I know it's early, but how big of a win would this be for Roger Shelton if he could find a way to get to victory lane here tonight in that 42 machine and get himself locked in after a season that I wouldn't say it's a bad season by any means, but maybe hasn't quite gone the way that 42 was hoping it to go. And that could all change. That's the beauty of the winning you're in format. The problem is sometimes that makes drivers have to do a little bit more riskier things, especially at the end of races, similar to what you saw for Austin Dillon. Now, I know we wouldn't have to worry about seeing anything like that here in the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series, but you know, if you're Roger Shelton, maybe you came out tonight and decided to go with something a little different, try something different, go for the lead early and see how good that clean air is. And he continues to stretch it out. 22 laps complete, and there is no signs of slowing down yet for this 42. And I just saw a brief moment there for, I think it was Quentin Clark. Might have been Wes Hurd Jr. Yeah, he's way up the racetrack right now, almost in the marbles. And again, the higher up you get as the run goes on, that's usually an indication of a car that's not quite doing what you want it to anymore. You're trying to kind of chase it, get it up the racetrack, find some more grip, if you will. But I don't think Wes Hurd Jr. has been able to find it too well as he now runs in the wake of Quentin Clark. That dirty air not going to help him here through 3 and 4 as Pajari's going to take a few spots through that corner. He'll get by Clark as well. Maybe even going to set up Mueller here down the front stretch. Yes, indeed, he will. So look at Alan Pajari now making the move up as well, and that puts him almost up to second. So if this was a battle of who was going to go first from tire saving, Pajari's got the cake right now, as he's now at 14 positions from where he started this race at. He's going to get clear in front of the nose of Michael Mueller. He'll take it, and that is now the new highest running Dynamic Autosports driver. Jake Hickson not too far back. Taio Polito still hanging strong in the top 10, and Austin Fitzgerald, he's trying to move inside the top 10 as he currently sits in 15th right now. And officially we are a quarter of the way through this 200-mile event, 25 laps complete. And so with that, we're going to take our first break of the night, but we'll go side by side so you don't miss a thing. Stick with us. Roger Shelton leads it at Michigan.
I'm Rob Wheely, and I'm the CEO of Alloy. Location closest to you.
Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Host for tonight's race, the Michigan 200. Up front, still Roger Shelton, but you might have noticed it over break. That gap that he had, or I guess I should say the lead he had, has certainly closed down now as Alan Pajari is knocking on the back door. And 34, here we go, looking for a move, trying to take the lead down the front stretch. We'll see if he can make anything happen here. And we wondered if Pajari was saving tire, if that's what kind of all of a sudden made him a rocket ship here in his journey to the front. But look at this, the 34, no contest. He'll get clear, and now that's going to open the door for Jake Hickson as well. So Dynamic Auto Sports going to use a little teamwork here down the back stretches. Pajari gives the draft to his teammate. That should be enough to get the 16 clear down into turn 3. Yes, it does. So Dynamic Auto Sports will take the lead. In fact, they'll take over first and second as Roger Shelton falls to third. And now you wonder for the 42, how does he respond? Is there any move back for the lead? Does he try to save tire, or does maybe the balance start to swing the other direction? Does that car maybe start to fall off here a little bit now? 32 of 100 laps complete. By the way, looking at that pit stop, I would say any time between, and I know this is a broad window for now, but I would say any time between probably 8 to 18 laps from now is when we expect that first pit stop. As you see Thomas O'Hara, he's going to get out of the way here, and he'll fall a lap down. Not sure if he had an issue at the start or what the deal is, but that will be his first lap lost. And good news, I guess, for Thomas is that he is currently the first car a lap down. Caleb Patton and Glenn Grigsby with issues. They did not make it out to the racetrack. And then Mark Zabak, currently the last car being scored on the lead lap after Thomas O'Hara just got lapped, but right now he's still at the pack. I mean, you can see it there on the track map. I mean, that's, a decent amount of spread, but it's still not even a straightaway's worth, so that tells me that O'Hara had to have some sort of issue. Question is what that issue was, and now, of course, the fact that he's going to have to hope for a caution in order to get himself back on the lead lap. As we take a look towards the middle portions of the pack, running in 19th place, we find the 39 machine of Ryan Haynes for BMP Motorsports. And him and his teammate Brett Spod currently running 19th and 20th. Two good-looking race cars. They will be the sponsor of next week's race at Daytona, so looking forward to that. And right now, by the way, Ryan has actually fallen 6 spots. Meanwhile, Brett Spod, who currently sits just behind him, has actually gained 7 spots. So one going in the right direction, one going in the wrong direction. But either way, BMP looking good so far here tonight. These two still looking to see if they can make a good run late in the season and make their way into that playoff picture, which we'll, of course, talk about later. And then you go up to the 15th spot, we find the 27 machine of Jeff Shutt. Currently runs behind that 19 of Ty Iopolito. And if we hop on the cockpit view here, driver out of Salem working the middle, and he still looks pretty comfortable with the handling of that race car. See a couple of wheel movements, especially out of the corner back to the right, but certainly not much that would necessarily cause for concern right now. And so that's good news there for Jeff Shutt. It's another driver who's came so close to getting the win so many times, but still just has not quite been able to find victory just yet. Maybe tonight's the night for Jeff Shutt. He's got a lot of work to do, and if not tonight, he's another one of the great super speedway racers, so we'll see what he can do next week under the lights at Daytona. Back on board with your leader, Alan Pajari. As you see, he has got the best view in the house right now, and he's also got about a 0.2 of a second lead on his teammate. That translates to really not too much right now, but I think Hickson might be kind of taking it easy. He's content with where he is, doesn't want to necessarily push the issue with his teammate right now and risk burning up his stuff or his teammate's stuff. But they got to be careful because look at this. Here comes the 48 of Tyler Marble. He wants to see if he can maybe drive to the lead here. Ooh, Quentin Clark. Saw him make some contact with the outside wall right there off of turn number 2. And so Roger Shelton, he'll take advantage of that as he jumps to the inside. He'll get clear the 0-0. Ooh, might have got a little too greedy here. He's going to try to go for 2. He's got to be careful that he doesn't lose the spot that he just gained there over Quentin Clark. Got to slide up right now for the 42. It doesn't look like he's going to do it here. Going to try to stay alongside Tyler Marble. It's not going to happen. And, yep, unfortunately, that's what you run the risk of when you stay to that inside is now he's going to lose that spot that he initially gained over Quentin Clark and puts him back to 5th for the moment. So with Pajari and Hickson leading, Tyler Marble chasing, you wonder how does this set up the pit stops? Again, the ultimate goal for everybody right now would be to make it to lap 50, right? If you can make it to at least lap 50, this is a one-stop race. You're good to go. But if you can't, and you're going to have to pit a bit sooner than that, that'll make it at least a 2-stop race, and then that starts to introduce some tire strategy. Now, if that were to be the case, that's where you wonder, do you maybe pit a little bit early on both of these stops, try to get that tire advantage by having fresher tires for a couple more laps, or do you try the opposite end of that strategy, which is stay out as long as you possibly can, be one of the last cars to come in, and then have the tire advantage at the end of this next run, similar to what, say, Tyler Marble has going for him right now. Speaking of Tyler Marble, he is the last driver that we have with an onboard here tonight. 48, already a couple wins on the season. He's looking good for the playoffs. But before he gets there, we'd certainly like to see if he can build up a little bit more momentum and maybe stall the momentum of that 74 Fitzgerald. Those two have certainly had a friendly rivalry, if you will, going on throughout the season. Two of the best in the series, if you will, and they've been racing each other pretty hard, especially over the last couple weeks. But Tyler Marble out of Buffalo, New York, who knows, maybe tonight's his night. He looked pretty good in the truck race at Chicago, the one that I raced in, and that's the most similar track I can think of to Michigan besides Michigan itself. So taking experience from there, and so far it's working out well as he got around Jake Hickson in the 16, and now he's going to be seeing if he can maybe fight for the lead. By the way, Jeff Marble, you see he's made it up to 5th. Remember, that was another driver that fell back early. So it seems like the general trend has been drivers that maybe had speed earlier starting to fade back, and drivers who seemed maybe a little bit off the pace early are now starting to move up. That is all a product of saving tires. You have to do it here. And right now, the 48, he's done it best because he has now taken the lead back from Alan Pajari. And he is going to see if he can set sail here before they get to that first green flag pit stop. By the way, from what we know, window has just now opened. You see we're on lap 40, so I think if any drivers are planning on, doing 2 stops, you could go really any time between now and the next 10 laps. But if you're trying to make it on 1 stop, got to stretch this window here as far as you can go, ideally to at least lap 50. And then if you can make it to that kind of halfway point, that's when maybe you decide, okay, I think I can go into pit here, take your 4 tires, take fuel, and go on from there. Look at the 72 here. Johnny Mahalchuk, he's up to 8th. This is looking like potentially a season best run for him right now as well, as the green flag run has certainly kind of brought up some surprises here, if you will, tonight. Johnny Mahalchuk was trying to get some things straightened out over the last couple weeks, and now that he's back, look at this, the momentum that he's got going so far here tonight. He's up 5 positions from where he started this race at, so he already had a good qualifying effort. And right now, he's got a good race effort going along with that. Is go back a couple rows, Brian Conklin back in the 13th spot. Ty Iopolito trying to hang strong. He currently sits back in the 12th spot. Actually, he's going to move up to 11th now. And there's the 88 of Andrew Russo. Another one of the fan favorites as he tries to make a 2-for-1 pass here down the front stretch off the draft of Jeff Shutt. Not going to get 2, but he is going to get at least 1. He'll slide up in front of Brian Conklin and then Brandon Saylor. Not sure what happened to the 24. He had pretty good speed earlier, but he has since fallen. In fact, now he's down 10 positions from where he started this race at. So we'll see if Brandon can maybe find something here. Kyle Oakley still back in 18th. And now you start to finally notice that we're starting to get some separation here. You've got that big lead pack, which goes, looks like all the way back to about 16th, 17th. And then you've got this second pack, which goes from 18th to about 25th. And then you've got all the stragglers from there on back. And you can see it there just from the pit lane 2 cam. All the spread down the entire front stretch and even into turn 1 and 2 for this field. And they continue to get broken up now, but I can tell you they're going to get broken up a whole lot more once we've had this first pit stop. Oh, Jared Bundy, he gets into the wall. Jeff Marble had to make an evasive maneuver there in the 15 to get away from him. So issues for the 3. Not sure exactly what happened there, but I think he's okay. It didn't look like a hard hit. Like he just kind of grazed it, if you will. There's a right rear view. Oh, Fitzgerald here is going to pit. All right, here we go. First pit stops. Let's see who comes in first. Looks like it's going to be All Dynamic Autosports. And boy, this is quite a bold team call. Looking for a little bit of strategy play here. This will be interesting to see how well this works out for this group. So Pajari came down, as did Fitzgerald. You see Ty Iopolito is there as well. Wetzer Jr., Jake Hickson, and then a couple others that came in were Matthew Gearinger, Jeff Barnes, mentioned Tracy Powers, and then of course Wetzer Jr. All right, well, let's see how this pans out, and let's see if this starts to draw others down. 44 of 100 laps complete. I wouldn't think you can make it on a one stop from here. As see the rest of the field roaring off of turn 4. Let's see, does anybody bring it down this time? Yes, they do. Looks like we're going to have a couple of takers. And the first one to go down that time was Quentin Clark. Don't see anybody else yet. Now they're going to get the 96 of Jeffrey Souza. He'll make his way down to the pit lane. So 2 other takers, but right now Dynamic Autosports, they are the team that has thrown a wrench in this race, and we'll see how it works out. Meanwhile, up front, how about Danny Gutierrez? Where did he come from? The 08 winner at Daytona last season, the season opener. Haven't really been able to call his name much since, but look at this. He's looking to take the lead here from the 48 of Tyler Marble. And we'll see, does that force Tyler's hand in terms of a pit stop here, or does Tyler stay out for now? Tyler, ooh, man, he looked for a block right there. That was really, really close. The 08 of Danny Gutierrez, what does he do? Does he get aggressive here? Does he maybe stay a little bit conservative, knowing that we're going to be coming to that pit stop here in just a few laps? See Quentin Clark getting back up to speed. Still no pit stops from your leaders. We're going to be coming to 47 of 100 complete. Continue to ask the question, can they make it to that lap 50 mark? Meanwhile, further back, we just saw, well, got a couple more in the pits here from further back in the pack. Looks like Ryan Haynes, Roger Shelton, Michael Mueller, Jeff Shutt, Andrew Russo, Christian Loston, Brett Spod, all making their pit stop here. First one of the night. And Johnny Mahalchuk, he's going to now bring it down in the 72. So it looks like Tyler Marble continues to stay out. In fact, he's going to lose the lead here. Ty Iopolito, that is the cars that are trying to get back on the lead lap who have already made a pit stop. But how about this? Danny Gutierrez in the 08, running as an independent driver this season, now finds himself in the lead at Michigan. And that is another driver that if he won here tonight, boy, that would be a season changer, not only for him, but a lot of drivers right around that cut line if the 08 was able to get himself locked in here tonight. See if anybody peels off the pit this time as they work their way out of turn 4. Sure enough, the 08's going to go down, the 48's going to follow. And we'll see if this draws down everybody else that had stayed out so far. Again, that halfway point could be just 2 laps away, so let's see. I see a couple that still stayed out for now. Danny Gutierrez, Tyler Marble, Jared Bundy, all drivers that made a pit stop right here. Mark Zabak as well brought it in. So let's see what the pit stop looks like too here for Tyler versus Danny Gutierrez. If Tyler can maybe get a jump here, he's got that first pit box advantage. We'll see if it works out for him. 4 tires and fuel going to be the call for the 48, along with the 08. But here we go, the race out. That's the big question. Who's going to get it? Here comes Danny Gutierrez. And, oh, man, Danny's going to beat him big time on that pit stop. Danny Gutierrez gets out way ahead of the 48. Now the question is, where does he merge in regards to the 19? Well, it looks like he's going to lose that position, and, man, by quite a bit. Look at the advantage for Ty Iopolito and Jake Hickson right here. They got out really early, and, in fact, I'm not sure what happened to their 2 teammates in Alan Pajari and Austin Fitzgerald. You see right there, Pajari and Fitzgerald a little bit further back than maybe initially planned. In fact, Fitzgerald's really far back, so I'm not sure if those 2 had an issue on the pit stop or what the deal was, because they certainly all came in together, but weren't quite able to exit out that way, or potentially Fitzgerald and Pajari just saving a little bit more tires than their 2 rookie teammates right now. But there you go, Jeff Marble. We have hit the lap 50 mark, and he has stayed out. So if we're looking for drivers in terms of confidence to make it all the way right now, I've got my money on Jeff Marble, Brandon Saylor, Kenneth Bartholomew, Cody Matthews. They all just now brought it down to the pits as well. And so that means the only car who is not pit is still Jeff Marble. I would expect that this 15 would have to come down to pit this time. And maybe that was another reason he faded back early. Who knows? Maybe he was saving a little bit of fuel. But you saw the fire out of the pipes right here. He's trying to get wound up. Is he out of fuel? No, the car still has full power, so he's still got fuel. So you're right on board here as he tries to get down to speed. Oh, careful. Man, Jeff was really, really trying to send it in there and did a good job. Was able to get it down to speed. So the 15 looking good to go for a one-stop strategy. That begs the question, what is everybody else's strategy looking like? For the Dynamic Autosports rookies, can they make it all the way? Man, I really wouldn't think so. Not with how early they pit. But maybe they save some fuel in this run, or maybe they have a little bit more than we I guess I should say, thought they had at the start. Either way, this will be a 4-tire stop and filling it up with every drop of fuel he can get for Jeff Marble. And then once he leaves, again, that will officially mark an end to all the pit stops. And that will hand the lead over to Ty Iopolito and Jake Hickson, Quentin Clark in 3rd. Then Wesser Jr. currently sitting in 4th, Alan Bajari 5th. Jeff Shutt in 6th, Danny Gutierrez in 7th, Tyler Marble in 8th, Austin Fitzgerald in 9th, and Roger Shelton currently rounding out your top 10. 51 of 100 laps complete. We are officially halfway. We're going to take another break. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Michigan.
I'm Rob Wheely, and I'm the CEO of Alloy. closest to you.
Welcome back to the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series presented by the Alloy Wheel Repair Specialist. 57 of 100 laps complete here at Michigan, and we have a change for the lead yet again. That seems to have been kind of the story here tonight, is the amount of lead changes. But how about Quentin Clark, the 00 for Riot Motorsports? He's going to try his hand here up front, but Ty Iopolito still hanging really close in the tire tracks. Jake Hickson, Wesser Jr., all up there as well, and we wondered about what he was doing back there. Alan Pajari, he was sitting pretty far back from his teammates, it seemed like, but that has not lasted. The 34 is now right back up to this group of leaders, and in fact, it's a 5-car group for the lead right now. Ty Iopolito fighting with the 00, battle for second, or excuse me, battle for third, I guess I should say, right now between Jake Hickson and Wesser Jr., and then there's the 34 of Alan Pajari sitting just behind those 4. Danny Gutierrez, you still wonder about what he can do here. It seemed like he might have been the fastest car on the track in the late portions of the run, but you wonder if he has to pit again. And that goes for everybody. If they have to pit again, it doesn't matter how fast they are. If this 15 machine of Jeff Marble can make it to the finish. Currently, he sits back in 16th. He'll continue to pick up spots due to the fresher tires, but also the question is, of course, just can he make it all the way to the finish? Now, I do want to show you what lap times look like here at Michigan. And this is, tires have already gotten worn out a bit for Jeff Marble. He's probably ran about 9 or 10 laps, you can see now, on this set of tires. And as it stands, he currently runs, looks like 39.1s. Actually, Tracy Powers might be running a little faster, it looks like here. Maybe not the case. I take that back. Point is here, Jeff Marble 39.3, 39.1 that last lap. We go up and compare that to your leader, Quentin Clark. He's running 39.3s, solid 38.8. So the speed difference, the tire difference right now certainly doesn't seem to be that much, but I would expect that to increase arguably significantly as we get later on into this run. And since we have a chance here, while everything continues to stay clean and green with 60 laps complete, let's go head over and take a look at what the playoff picture is looking like as we edge closer and closer to the round of 16. Then we'll talk briefly about the schedule. So here's what it's shaping up. Right now, Austin Fitzgerald, 9 wins on the season. No surprise to see him leading the chase to the playoffs. And so again, this isn't set yet, right? We haven't made it to the playoffs yet, but if the playoffs were to start right now, the drivers that are in that top 16 are the drivers that are in. The drivers in red are the ones that are outside trying to get in. And again, we have 2 more races after tonight before we start the playoffs, and we'll talk about that in just a moment. But again, Fitzgerald leading the playoff picture right now with 9 wins, 37 playoff points. That's going to help him greatly, especially in that first round or two. And then you've got Quentin Clark in second, Tyler Marble third, Jake Hickson fourth, Jeff Marble fifth, Ty Iopolito back in sixth, Michael Mueller seventh, and Jared Bundy in eighth rounds out the drivers who have gotten a win this season to lock themselves in. You see some of the multiple win drivers there being Michael Mueller, Jake Hickson, Tyler Marble, and Quentin Clark. But then Wesser Jr., well, you say, why is he in orange? Well, he's got himself technically locked in via the win. The problem is he needs to get a certain amount of points due to the fact that he hasn't met the amount of races yet to make it. So that's what he's out here fighting for. I think he's set himself up pretty good to make that happen, as at least the run he's got going tonight is certainly going to help his chances. Jeff Shutt, he currently sits in 10th. He is in but not locked in. Neither is Thomas O'Hara in 11th. Scott Glasso in 12th. Kyle Oakley in 13th. Kenneth Bartholomew in 14th. Jacob Musso in 15th. Or Brian Conklin in 16th. He currently sits 12 points to the good. And then Jeffrey Souza, the first man out, 12 points below the bubble. Danny Gutierrez, talked about him hanging right around that bubble. He's minus 24, but a win tonight would erase that. And what that would also do is bump out a driver like Brian Conklin. That would also put a couple guys that maybe weren't expecting to be on the bubble all of a sudden on the bubble. So that could certainly shake things up if he can find a way to get the job done here tonight. And then I mentioned the schedule and just a couple races left, of course, before we kick off the playoffs here for 2024. And so looking at the rest of the regular season, again, only 2 races left. Next week, we're going to head to Daytona International Speedway, the World Center of Racing under the lights. Boy, that's going to be a good one. Again, I know a lot of drivers looking forward to it. I can tell you I'm looking forward to it. That's certainly going to be an exciting one and a big opportunity for a lot of drivers who maybe haven't had a great season to turn it all around in that one race. After that, we head to Darlington, and the playoffs open up with Atlanta Motor Speedway, another drafting style racetrack. That's a big opportunity for drivers trying to get locked into the round of 12, because after Atlanta we head to a road course, Watkins Glen. That's going to be a tricky one. Tyler Marble, he's got that one circled. Fitzgerald, I think, likes that track as well. Bristol Motor Speedway is going to round out the round of 16, a night race. That'll be another good one. Then it's Kansas for the round of 12 opener, followed by Talladega Super Speedway, and then the Charlotte Roval, another road course, and those two will round out the round of 12. Round of 8 will be just 2 races at Las Vegas and Homestead. It'll be 3. I believe the last one will be Martinsville. And of course, we will head back to Phoenix for the championship. Same place that we were at last season, where, if you remember, Austin Fitzgerald seemed to have the best car, but due to a couple issues in the race and then a big technical difficulty that unfortunately ended his night and his championship hopes. All right, so it's going to be 66 laps complete when they cross the line this next time. And the battle for the lead is back on here, as Quentin Clark had took it and started to pull away for a little bit, but not long. Pajari right back on his tail here, and we'll see how aggressive this 34 is willing to get. He does have a couple teammates in the vicinity. You see Ty Iopolito currently sitting just behind him, and then you've got Jake Hickson a few spots back behind that. Wester Jr. kind of being the oddball in here right now. But of course, Quentin Clark doesn't necessarily have any of his teammates up here either. And you saw Barnes currently sitting what looks like in the middle of this pack, but that is actually another one of the cars that has recently lost a lap, as has Kenneth Bartholomew and Thomas O'Hara. O'Hara has actually lost 2 laps. And so this is not the night the 07 needed with the way that he was sitting in the playoff picture, but he'll look to recover. There's Mark Zabak, who has lost touch with a lot of these packs. And so this front pack that we've been kind of keeping an eye on, which has been about 5 cars deep, isn't the only pack on the racetrack. We've got a second group that's currently being led by Danny Gutierrez, and he is followed closely in suit here by Tyler Marble, Jeff Shutt, and a few others. Looks like that might be Michael Mueller in the 99 that's trying to make his way up here. Yes, indeed it is. The 74, Fitzgerald, I don't know what happened to him, but he sits in 10th, and I know it's still a bit of a ways to go. 33, going to be 32 laps here in just a moment, but I just don't know if this 74 is going to have enough time to get back up there, even if he's saving tire right now. Remember, he was able to pit with his teammates. I mean, he got right there with them on entry, but right now it just sits really, really far back because he's going around the 07 there. That's not for position. Then Andrew Russo back here in the 88. He's still got a great run going. So he currently sits in 11th and up 10 positions from where he started at. Roger Shelton in 12th. Jacob Musso in 13th. And you've got Tracy Powers in 14th. Brett Spott in 15th. Johnny Mahalchuk in 16th. Jeff Marble, the man who we're still asking questions about, can he make it all the way? He currently sits in 17th. So I think right now, if you're Jeff, you got to hope you can make it all the way, because if not, none of the strategy is really going to matter. Now, where he runs is still going to be important, right? Because let's say he's saving a little fuel, or just in general the pace he's running. Now, let's take a listen here, actually. Let's take a listen down the front stretch. All right, so there's kind of part of your answer, and we'll bring up the dashboard here, actually, to show you more of that throttle tracing. But what I heard there, and what you're seeing right now with all these cars that are passing him, is he's saving. He is still saving some fuel. He might have saved during that first run. I mean, the speed says it all. He's not even hitting, he's barely hitting 190 miles an hour at the end of the back straightaway. So, and oh, looks like Jeff Marble, we have temporarily lost him here. And uh-oh, that could be bad news for the 15 here. Uh-oh, Jeff Marble, I'm not seeing him. I think he has blinked out. Oh, man, this is a horrible break. Jeff Marble has disappeared completely here. And I'm looking for him, but no, he's gone. So the 15 he's dropped connection of sorts here. Let's see if he's back. It's showing him back now. If he was able to retain his position here, or if that cost him all of his track position. Okay, he's still sitting in 18th, so he just blinked out for a while, but he is back now. And man, boy, that was a scary moment. If the 15 would have lagged out or blinked out, whatever you want to call it, that would have completely flipped the strategy of this race on its lid. Is right now it seems like he's the only car that can potentially make it. And what we were just talking about there for a moment before he had disappeared was the throttle tracing, the fact that we think he might be saving a bit here, trying to just kind of run in the draft of other drivers, and that works as long as you don't fall too far behind the leaders. Where he runs right now is, I would say, about a straightaway back from the leaders. And again, the idea here is that he doesn't have to pit. A pit stop in general, just to get down and out, is probably going to cost you at least half a minute, if not a little bit more, and that's if you're not even really taking much. So I think Jeff's got the right strategy call. I mean, you hear there, he just put the clutch in and coasted it about halfway through turn 3 and 4, but it's just a matter of can he make it on fuel. Now, we're going to start to see some of these pit stops here, and I would say about the next maybe 8 to 18 laps from now. Anytime before that lap 90 mark, I think is when we'll see the drivers and stuff to pit come in. And if you're Jeff, you're going to have to keep tabs on where they come out behind you. If they're, too close and he can't make it on fuel or still has to save, that gap's going to disintegrate quickly. But if he's able to get a big enough gap, maybe save a little bit more after everybody else has already made their pit stop, Jeff Marble might have pulled off one of the best fuel strategies in general of the season. And remember, he's already got a win, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't like to find victory lane again. We'll have to see if he can get the job done. Meanwhile, back up front, Alan Pajari on point, was able to take that lead back from Quentin Clark. Clark, though, hasn't faded too far back. The 00 actually is looking to make a move back here on the 34 as he just jumped to the outside. Tai Iopolito's going to try to hop down lane, give some drafting support to his teammate. And if you're Quentin Clark here, you're trying to kind of pinch that 34 down. You don't want him to be able to use up much of the racetrack. And then Quentin knows that he'll have the momentum advantage here. But look at this. 3 wide, 2 rows deep. Roger Shelton trying to get his lap back. And man, that was really, really aggressive there for a moment between the leaders. And they're still 3 wide, almost 2 rows deep. And that's brought Danny Gutierrez back up into the mix, as well as Tyler Marble. And so all of a sudden, the 5-car battle up front has now turned into about a 7 or 8-car one, as I see Fitzgerald, Jeff Shutt, multiple others that have now made this 5-car pack back to about an 8 to 10-car pack. And oh man, that is certainly going to continue to mix things up and make it even more exciting here, as we'll be coming to lap 75 this time around. And as we do so, here we go. Quentin Clark looks like he's going to make a pit stop. And for the 00 here, he's going to lead in a couple others, it looks like. Pajari's going to come down, as will Tai Iopolito, Austin Fitzgerald. So does Jeff Shutt. So this last round of pit stops is certainly going to shake up the way things run when they all come out. And as they continue to do that, Tyler Marble takes the lead and says, "Thank you very much." Wesser Jr. in that 2nd spot, and then Danny Gutierrez currently sitting in 3rd. Actually, looks like going to have a battle for the lead here as Wesser Jr. is looking to the inside of Tyler Marble. Not going to be able to make anything work there. In fact, looks like Wesser Jr., he's going to bring it down to the pits this time. Michael Mueller will follow as well. We have officially hit 25 laps to go here at Michigan as all the final pit stops continue, and now we start to focus more and more on this 15 car and how well this strategy works. So we need to ask ourselves how everybody else is running relative to this 15 to Jeff Marble. First car that pit, the nearest car that pit, I guess I should say, looks like it's Austin Fitzgerald right now, I believe, in that 74. And if it is where it stands, he is way, way behind Jeff Marble, to the point where I don't think he'd be able to catch him here unless we were to get a caution, or this 15 had to pit, of course. So right now, this is looking like a pretty good strategy call from Jeff. We'll have to see if it continues to play out that way. And of course, he needs to see everybody make that pit stop first, as right now Tyler Marble, Danny Gutierrez still out on the racetrack. So is Johnny Mahalchuk. Tracy Powers, Brett Spod, they're going to make their last stop. Brian Conklin, he'll stay out. Brandon Saylor in 8th for the moment. And so that leaves 3 cars now that still need to pit. Jeff Marble currently sitting back in that 4th spot. And let's go back to the onboard view here and see if he's still saving quite a bit. Yeah, it seems like he is. And Jeff Marble, 185. See if he gets to 190. Yes, he does. So he's not saving a ton, but certainly a little bit. And there you go. You hear him put the clutch in, and he's still coasting into 3, and I believe he's doing the same into turn 1. Trying to get every last drop of fuel out of this race car. That's what he's going to need here to try to win this race, especially at the end. Man, it would be a big one for Jeff Marble off the fuel strategy. He's one of the drivers that loves to run these races green, and this is why right here, because he knows it opens the door to all these different opportunities of strategy. And a lot of times it seems like it comes down to tire strategy, but looking like that may not be the case here tonight. We've still got 23 laps to go. That's a long ways to go at a 2-mile oval. A lot of things that can still happen. And again, you have to have everybody pit still before Jeff takes the lead. Danny Gutierrez still out on the racetrack, as is Johnny Mahalchuk. Looks like Tyler Marble did decide to bring it in this time. And so as he works his way back out onto the racetrack to get up to speed, this is going to put him pretty far back. However, he should, of course, have that tire advantage at the end of this run. See how things pan out here for the 48. As looks like Johnny Mahal, we saw Johnny Mahalchuk pit last time, so now it's all in the hands of Danny Gutierrez of when he pits to hand over the lead to Jeff Marble. Good looking 08 Dark Horse Mustang has the Ghost logo on the side. As always, Danny, we certainly appreciate that. So he stays out yet again. We come into 21 laps to go, so we'll be expecting a pit stop from the 08. In the meantime, we're going to take another break. We'll go side by side, and we'll be right back. Stick with us at Michigan.
I'm Rob Wheely, and I'm the CEO of to you.
Welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. Just 16 laps to go in the Michigan 200 here for the FastTrack Sim Racing Cup Series. And up front, still leading the way, Danny Gutierrez did not make that pit stop. Warrior over break has not made that pit stop yet. But you still wonder, at what point does this 08 have to go in? I just don't see any way that he can make it all the way to the finish. At least not right now, but I mean, he continuing to stay out continues to make me question if I'm correct on that. Jeff Marble still sitting in second, Conklin third, and then Fitzgerald, who's in fourth, is the first car who has already made a pit stop. He currently sits 28 seconds back from your leader, and that means he sits about 20 seconds back from Jeff Marble, the car that we believe would have the lead once everything cycles out here. But of course, we got to get to that point, and still no sign of pitting yet from Danny Gutierrez. Marble working his way through 3 and 4 here. That 15, man, he is hoping he sees that 08 pit, but then once he does, he's got to be really careful and manage this gap because it is closing up. Slowly but surely, 14 laps to go. Will it be enough time for Austin Fitzgerald to maybe try to reel in this 15, knowing that he's trying to save fuel to make it to the finish? And by the way, for anybody watching here tonight, if you don't mind, I'm looking on my end here, trying to figure things out again. We did recently get some PC things hopefully resolved, so I do want to ask the question, does it look like it's been, I don't want to say lagging, but does it look like it's been stuttering at all, or does it look pretty smooth on your guys' end watching at home? Please do let me know in the chat. It certainly helps. Coming to 12 laps to go this time. Jeff Marble still second because Gutierrez has not pit yet. Now remember, the way this 08 went in, he could probably realistically go till, I would say, even maybe 5 laps to go, based off when he, of course, last pit, but that's about it. I just don't see any way that this 08 can make it all the way to the finish on this fuel tank, as they're going to go 3, almost 4 wide for a second just behind him. That's the 95 to 39. Ooh, almost contact there between Musso and Ryan Haynes as they're trying to get around this 08 for their lap back, at the same time trying to race each other. Brett Spot up top with his teammate. And here comes the 7 as well. That's Christian Loschin. And so with just 12 laps to go now, Jeff Marble watching that gap between him and Austin Fitzgerald. It currently stands at 16 seconds now. The gap between Jeff Marble and Austin Fitzgerald, that's closing up a lot over the course of just the last couple laps. At what point does Jeff have enough fuel saved that he can try to hit the loud pedal? And it's interesting because, remember, he made it to lap 51 on that first run, so I would have thought that, you know, if anything, he wouldn't have had to save as much this run, but boy, it certainly looks that way right now as the 15 still slowly closing in on the 08, and so that makes me wonder now, is maybe Danny Gutierrez also trying to save here? We come into 10 laps to go next time, and remember, I know it's a ways away, but this race isn't official until we get to the white flag, so until then, anything can happen. And I mean, if you're Danny Gutierrez, I think maybe at this point you wouldn't mind seeing a caution. If you're Jeff Marble, you definitely don't want to see one, and if you're Austin Fitzgerald, he might be on the fence, because again, he's only 16 seconds back now versus the 20 it was just a couple laps ago, and that'll continue to close here as the laps wind down. But if you're Jeff Marble here, you got to think about picking up the pace. Let's hop on board here and see if he's still saving as much as he was earlier. See the speed there on the bottom right. Let's see if he's putting the clutch in and coasting as he was earlier here down into turn number 1. Also, Cody Martin, thank you for letting me know in the chat that it looks smooth. All right, certainly appreciate that. Yeah, he is. You see, still putting in the clutch. So Jeff still not confident that he's going to go on fuel just yet. And every time he does that, that allows Fitzgerald to get closer and closer. Fitzgerald has now surpassed Brian Conklin. That moves him up to the 2nd spot and puts him only 14 seconds behind the 15 of Jeff Marble. He's still coasting. They'll be coming to 9 laps to go right here as Danny Gutierrez crosses the line. He still is out on the racetrack for now. The 08, how much fuel does he have left in the tank? Remember, this would be a huge win for the 08. Don't think it's going to happen, at least not on fuel strategy, but if somehow he found a way to do this, it'd be an even crazier fuel strategy than the one that I thought Jeff Marble was on, but it would also be arguably the most clutch win of the season. If Danny Gutierrez can get this, get himself locked in and not have to worry about kind of being on that bubble, I guess I should say right now just below the bubble, trying to sneak his way in here in the last couple races. Now, granted, I know we're going to Daytona next week, which is a track that Danny's won at before, so I'm sure he's pretty optimistic for there, but man, just get that win out of the way feels so much better. And so I'm sure Danny Gutierrez is going to be doing everything he can here to either stretch it as far as he can go and make it to the finish, or if not, trying to get as many laps led here and just hope for that late caution. Sometimes that's another strategy that drivers will set themselves up with. So we're talking about all this fuel strategy, but the other thing you still got to keep in mind is the race for the win if these front two don't make it on fuel. Austin Fitzgerald is the next man up, who currently sits in 3rd, but he's got his teammate Alan Pajari just about right on his bumper and maybe looking to make a pass here in the next couple laps, who sits in 4th. Jake Hickson's right there, as is Quentin Clark and Taio Polito. And then Tyler Marble, who pit a bit later, You wonder, what do him and Michael Mueller have? Do they have a little bit fresher tires? Maybe something to try to catch this group here in the closing laps? To find out, Danny Gutierrez working his way off of turn 2 down the backstretch, still with a plentiful lead, if you will, off of most of the field, including Jeff Marble. Meanwhile, the gap between Jeff and Austin Fitzgerald is now down to almost 10 seconds, probably about 11 right now, as we've got a pass for that third spot. Alan Pajari on the inside of his teammate, and he's trying to get clear, and at this point, oh, Fitzgerald really tight, almost got up into the safer barrier, coming off of turn 2 right there. That was a big moment. It looks like he's okay, but he's going to probably have to surrender this position to not one, but 2 of his teammates, as there you go, Danny Gutierrez is going to make that pit stop. And so as the 08 now finally brings it in here with 6 laps to go, that was a little bit shorter than what we thought he could go at max. That leaves Jeff Marble as the solo man out, trying to make this thing happen on fuel strategy. And you see the gap, 12 seconds between Alan Pajari and Austin Fitzgerald. And if you're those two, do you maybe start to think to yourself, well, let's line this thing up and try to track him down before we get to racing? Or do they have enough confidence that either he's good to go on fuel and he's going to make it, or he's not going to go on fuel and he's going to run out, and they're going to try to make it a race amongst themselves? Quentin Clark going to throw himself into the mix as he looks to the inside of Fitzgerald into turn number 3. And he's trying to break up this trio of Dynamic Autosports drivers. Oh, Fitzgerald tight again. That time he does get into the wall. Jake Hickson as well. Taio Polito will go all the way down to the apron. And he's going to see if he can potentially get around 2, if not all 3 of these guys. Not quite able to do it, but he got around 2 of them, looking to clear his final teammate here. And not final, actually, still got to get up to Pajari, but looking to clear Austin Fitzgerald here off of 2, and he will. Fitzgerald tight again and gets into the wall. The 74, the handling is really starting to go away for. Meanwhile, this is helping Jeff Marble. This is what he wants to see. That gap, even with the fuel he's been saving, didn't really close up much, if any, that lap. As we go back to the onboard view and take a listen here to one, let's see if he's still got the clutch in. Doesn't sound like he's got the clutch in. He is just running a nice, smooth coast down into the corner. Who knows? Maybe that's an indication that he feels he's good to go on fuel, or at least close enough to make it where if he stutters, or sputters, if you will, he can make it to the finish without an issue. And so Jeff Marble right now working his way through 3 and 4. When he crosses the line, it'll be 3 laps to go. He does not want to see a caution. Trying to potentially make it the first race this whole season that has went green the entire way through, and also a race that he was able to get done via fuel strategy. So that puts him, once he crosses the line next time, just 2 miles away right now, making about 3 miles away from making this race official, as he's got one more lapper in his view. That's Christopher Hall, who you saw bounce off the outside wall. That probably gave him a little bit of a scare. But I'm telling you, this 15, you got to think he will be running on fumes, and if he runs out, I would say anytime before the exit of 4, he could be in trouble. And again, these cars, they don't stutter for long. It's not like the real-life Cup cars where you can flip a switch and get an extra lap of fuel. When you run out, when that ticker hits 0, you're out. You'll sputter for maybe, I don't know, 100 yards at that, and that's it. And then the car, it's all about trying to put clutch in and hope that you can coast to the finish. And now he is under 4 miles away from winning this race, and he wants to see that white flag more than anything right now. He's getting close. He's got about half a lap to do it. This is where you're holding your breath. You're hoping that everybody can keep it clean for just another mile here. Through 3 and 4, coming off of 4 here, he will see the white flag. Jeff Marble, 1 lap to go at Michigan. Can he pull off the fuel strategy? And boy, I'm telling you, he is going to be running on fumes right here. See the fist pump? I don't know if that means, oh, well, I'll tell you what that means. It's because he's happy that we made it to the white. And he knows now that he can coast to the finish. That might have been part of the reason that he was trying to run a little bit harder there those last couple laps. Nobody anywhere near. This is all about just making it on fuel to the finish. He's looking at the fuel number one more time down the backstretch. It looks like it's going to be enough. One more time through 3 and 4, and he'll put the clutch in again. Coming off of turn 4, look at this. He has done it. Nobody else in the field expected this. Fuel strategy, green all the way through, and Jeff Marble wins it at Michigan. What a win off of strategy, and I wonder if he's going to even have enough fuel to make it around here to do a burnout. Almost a 10-second gap over second place Alan Pajari. And so the strategy call worked out, I'm sure, better than even he expected. Is sometimes we see it come down to a couple seconds. Not the case here. He got it by plenty. And actually, I think that was, you can hear it stuttering right there. Man, that's got to be, I think, potentially the best strategy play I have seen since I have had the chance to broadcast for these guys. I mean, what a call for Jeff Marble. And so he's going to coast it down to the pits. Doesn't appear that he's even going to have enough to bring it around for a burnout. But that doesn't matter right now because he is your race winner at Michigan. And that is some much-needed momentum for one of the veterans of the series and Team Marble iRacing general as they continue to try to put a halt to the streak that Austin Fitzgerald and Dynamic Autosports has been on as a whole. And so with that win here tonight, he was already locked in. But again, that's just kind of icing on the cake, if you will. And so as he coasts into his pit box here, we'll take a look at the finishing results here tonight. Again, Jeff Marble is your race winner here at Michigan. Alan Pajari in second. Ty Iopolito back in third with Jake Hickson in fourth. Austin Fitzgerald in fifth. Quentin Clark sixth with Tyler Marble in seventh. Michael Mueller in eighth. You got Jeff Shutt back in ninth. And then Wes Hurd Jr. currently rounding out your top 10. Danny Gutierrez finishes in 11th. Andrew Russo in 12th. Roger Shelton 13th. Tracy Powers in 14th. Jeffrey Souza back in 15th with Jacob Musso in 16th. Brett Spod 17th. Ryan Haynes finishes in 18th. And rounding out your top 20 here tonight is Christian Lostian and Brandon Saylor. Brian Conklin finishes 21st. Matthew Gearinger in 22nd. Christopher Hall in 23rd. Jared Bundy 24th with Cody Matthews in 25th. Scott Glasso 26th. Mark Zabak in 27th. Kyle Oakley finishes back in 28th. Kenneth Bartholomew in 29th. And Johnny Mahalchuk in 30th. Thomas O'Hara finishes 31st. Jeff Barnes in 32nd. Caleb Patton finishes in Jeff Barnes 32nd. Caleb Patton in 33rd. And then Glenn Grigsby rounds out the field tonight as he finishes in 34th. All right, we're going to go pull your top three in here for interviews. Stick with us. We'll be right back at Michigan. All right, welcome back to Michigan International Speedway. We're going to start first here tonight with your third place finisher for Dynamic Autosports. It's Ty Iopolito. Ty, this is Austin up in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, gotcha.
Well, man, overall, great race. The car had a lot of speed, and it ends with a third place finish. How'd you feel about your run here tonight?
Yeah, it was a really good night. Good night for all at Dynamic Autosports. All of us in the top 5, so really good.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I mean, what a race in terms of we saw it go green all the way, and that led to some strategy play. Now, we saw not only you, but you and your teammates bring it down to the pits first of anybody. What was kind of the decision and strategy play that you guys made, and was there anything you wish you would have done different on the strategy call?
We all just wanted to pit together because the draft is so strong, and we know we could work together really well. As far as what could we do different, I'm not really sure. I guess we could have saved like Jeff, but that was crazy that he made it.
Certainly was. Well, hey, a great finish here tonight. Next week on to Daytona. So before we let you head out to get ready for it, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody at Dynamic Autosports for a great setup this week and a great showing.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Well, again, hey, Ty, congrats on that third place finish, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
All right, and now that's going to bring us to your second place finisher here tonight. Another one of the Dynamic Autosports drivers, Alan Pajari. Alan, this is Austin in the booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, you seem to have a thing for these 2-mile D-shaped ovals. We saw you get a win last season at Auto Club. You come close here tonight, arguably the fastest car on the racetrack, but just not able to get there on the strategy play. Was there, I asked your teammate this, but I know you're one of the veterans. Was there anything that you wish you would have done different on the strategy call?
No, not whatsoever. I'm surprised that Jeff did what he did, to be honest with you. So got to give it up to him. I was happy with our strategy. Matter of fact, our team finished second through fifth. I was pretty happy with the car, pretty happy with the strategy, pretty happy with what we were doing. We were just hoping and praying that Jeff would run out of fuel. So, but he did a good job. If I would have tried that, it wouldn't have made it.
Yeah, he certainly did. But I mean, hey, we looked at the racing here tonight. It was a lot of green flag racing, and we saw a couple times where it seemed like you were really far back. Next thing you know, we get late in a run, you find yourself at the front. And for the people watching at home, how do you kind of determine how much tire you need to save, and when's that point where you can flip the switch and start trying to go to the front?
You definitely have to save in the beginning of every run, probably at least 10 to 15 laps, because that will wear out your tires the most. And like our set started off tight. So if we were running hard, we would have worn off the right front like that. So, and then you got to kind of take it a little bit more careful. I gotta pause. And then you got to be careful of your right rear wearing out. So you don't want to go full out and in the turns and stuff like that. So that's just what we were doing. And then probably around lap 15, I'm like, okay, time to go, you know? So, and I really didn't try to pass a ton of people going around them either, because that would have killed tires.
Well, you were a rocket ship here tonight, and it ends with a great finish. Before we let you head out to get ready for Daytona next week, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
First of all, my wife for allowing me to do this type of stuff. And, 3 or 4 nights a week. Really appreciate that. My team, Dynamic Auto Sports, these guys are wonderful. All good racers. And we always seem to put our heads together and come up with a pretty good car. So the team, I think that's about it. Otherwise, I'm just having fun out here.
Thank
Not
you
too
for
many people. Thanks.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Alan. We certainly appreciate it, and congrats again on the second place finish.
One more thing, Austin. Thank you guys for the broadcast. You guys are wonderful. I think the job that you do is fantastic up in the booth. I just wanted to make sure I said that because it's my first and maybe my only interview of the year. So I just wanted to make sure I let you guys know that. So thank you.
Appreciate it. But hey, if you had the speed you had here tonight, I can tell you it won't be the last one. So again, congrats on that second place finish, Alan, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks. We'll see you.
All right, and now that brings us to your race winner here tonight, Jeff Marble. Jeff, this is Austin the Booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. How are you?
Good. Well, you pull off one of the craziest strategies, not only of the season, but since I have seen during my time as a broadcaster here at Fast Track. First question, everybody's wondering, how did you pull off the fuel strategy?
Oh, my goodness. A whole lot of luck in gambling. I should go to Vegas and get on the blackjack tables, man. It all comes down to I ran an A Open earlier today, and I got beat by a guy that did the same thing. And he was just riding in line, chilling out, saving fuel. Here I am driving balls to the wall, hair on fire, just like everybody else, sucking up a lot of fuel. And ended up losing that race, and it was a good old gut punch there. And I'm like, well, if you want to beat the fastest team in here, the Dynamic guys, no disrespect to anybody else, but the bottom line is 74 keeps winning. They're the best team here. Well, you got to try something different. And I came out on the good end of it. It was tough. It's the discipline to be that disciplined for 100 laps, to not burn up fuel. After that, I knew if I could make it down pit road on lap 50, coming to 51 on pit road, I should have been fine. But I had hardly any draft help until late in that run, and I was able to, and I did a whole lot of clutching too. So a whole lot of clutching. So I got lucky. Bottom line is I got lucky. Sometimes you got to be lucky to be good, and the bottom line is the 15's on top of the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's right. You collect another win here tonight. Now, next week we head to Daytona, a wild card, and you've got yourself locked in. Your teammate Tyler Marble's locked in, but you got a rookie and another teammate that are still looking to get in. What's going to be the game plan next week?
Beat the 74.
There you go. Sounds like a pretty good game plan to me.
Of course, we're going to help our teammates as much as we can. Unfortunately, Brian's not going to be there, and that's going to hurt a lot. I pushed him to a win last year at Talladega to sneak into the playoffs, and I was going to do the same thing again next week, but he's not going to be here. So we'll try and get Mr. Saylor in there, or we'll try to get somebody else a win that's not the 74 car.
Well, looking forward to that race, but before we let you head out here tonight to go celebrate, is there anyone you want to thank or shout out?
Yeah, first and foremost, your microphone sounds awesome. I also like to thank, I apologize. The guy that filled in for us last week, Matt, is it?
Matt Medler.
Okay, all right. Yes, I apologize, Matt. We've had nothing but really great reviews on that gentleman. I'd like to thank him for stepping in last week on short notice. And so Ghost Racing Network, yourself, Butt Kicker, SimRacerHub.com, Alloy Wheel Repair Specialist out of Richmond, Virginia, Capital Auto Group, Bushdale Motorsports Park, iRacingIFlight.com. Oh, Donnie Adams Zach Designs. And if I forgot anybody, I think I said Ghost Racing Network, but if I forgot anybody, I apologize. And again, thank you.
Thank you, of course, for talking to us. Well, Jeff, again, congrats on the win, and we'll see you next week at Daytona.
Looking forward to it, sir. Thank you.
All right, well, that's just about going to wrap up our coverage here tonight from Michigan International Speedway. Man, what a race, green all the way, and what a win based off a strategy for Jeff Marble. He makes it on fuel via a one-stopper. Next week, it's off to the World Center of Racing, the high banks of Daytona International Speedway. Looking forward to that. Until then, thank you all so much for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed. Until next time, have a good night.